right, and so who is Robert Jager? Robert Jager was born in 1939, so you do the arithmetic. Sometime during this year, he will celebrate his 79th birthday. I first became aware of his name when I was a sophomore in high school. The piece that we're going to close the concert with, the Sinfonia Nobilissima, was played in the all-region band that I was a member of. And that would be, let's see, I graduated in 72, so that was 1970. And I remember that piece, and I remember that clinic. That was a terrific band. That was back up where I grew up, in and around the Lubbock, Texas area. During, I guess, 10 or so years later, he was commissioned to write a piece of music for the Kappa Kappa Psi Pi Beta Sigma National Intercollegiate Band, which had its convention in Lubbock at Texas Tech. And he wrote a piece of music, not one of his best, which has since been forgotten, a set of variations on the trio to the Stars and Stripes Forever. It was never published. But he was there in Lubbock for that, and I played on that piece and got a chance to meet him. He's been in San Antonio a number of times. We'll explain one of those visits when we play the next piece, the Alamo. But he also was in San Antonio, 10 or 15 years ago. The Air Force Band of the West did a series of programs they called Meet the Composer. And the Air Force Band of the West did an entire program of his music, so he was here for that concert as well. So Bob Jager was born in 1959, went to the University of Michigan, and that's one of those legendary band programs. William Ravelli, who was the band director in those days, one of the meanest guys who ever walked the face of the earth. But oh my goodness, did the Michigan band play great. And then Bob went and spent 4 years on the faculty of the Armed Forces School of Music, teaching people and also working as a staff arranger for the Navy Band. And then spent about 30 years teaching theory and composition at Tennessee Tech University in Cookeville, Tennessee. He now in retirement lives in Colorado, and we invited him a couple of times to come to this concert. We really wanted him to be here, but you know, people who are 79 sometimes have mobility issues, and so he declined, but we so wish that he could be here with us. Because he began his writing career writing for the United States Navy Band, he's one of those people who has been commissioned over and over again to write pieces of music for the service bands. And so we have a couple of those pieces that we're going to play tonight, including Esprit de Corps. Esprit de Corps is the second Robert Jager work commissioned by the United States Marine Band, the first being Tableau. Based on the Marine Hymn. Now, you're going to have to listen real carefully. You'll hear the clarinet go da-da-dee-da-da. You think about that. From the halls of Montezuma. So that you will hear little snippets of it, and then it goes in a different direction. So as soon as you think you're hearing the Marine Hymn, you're hearing something that was suggested by the Marine Hymn. It's not a quote ever. Based on the Marine Hymn, Esprit de Corps is a kind of fantasy march, as well as a tribute to the United States Marine Band. It is also the composer's salute to the Marine Corps in general. Full of energy and drama, the composition has its solemn moments and its lighter moments. For example, you will hear a quasi-waltz in the middle of the piece. While Esprit de Corps is a tribute to the Marine Band, it is also a display piece for any fine group of musicians. Did you hear that, band? A display piece for any fine group of band musicians. The composer intends that this work should display the fervor and virtuosity of the Marine Band and the musical spirit and integrity of their conductor, Colonel John R. Bourgeois. By the way, the President's own, the United States Marine Band, will be here in San Antonio this summer for the TBA convention. Mark your calendars. A comment on the initial tempo marking. The piece is marked to go ahead. Tempo di Bourgeois is in order here. Colonel John Bourgeois is a dramatic, spirited conductor. Who's played under Bourgeois? Yep. All right. Who reflects the excitement of the music being played. When the tempo is supposed to be bright, he makes sure it is exactly that. Because the tempo of Esprit de Corps is to be very bright, the marking just had to be tempo di Bourgeois. Let me tell you one final little piece of information personally about this piece of music. I did my doctorate in wind band conducting at the University of Texas, and there were like 4 or 5 little rituals of fire that they had to put us through. And for me, there are these situations where, for reasons that we are not always in control of, or never in control of, you discover the composer of today's concert is indisposed and you're on. And so that means you have to step up and conduct a concert with players you've never rehearsed and play music you've never rehearsed. So they have to see if you're able to do that. So there was this one University of Texas Longhorn Symphony Band rehearsal that I walked into, and I knew it was coming. And they handed me the score, and they said, conduct the band. When do I study the score? You don't. Conduct the band. So I sight read this. And of course, the job of the conductor not only is to get the tempos right and the cue right, but when the band is sight reading it too, then it's your job with your gestures to lead them along. So that if somebody's not sure, am I lost? Am I supposed to come in here? And you got to make eye contact. And you got to say, yep, come in right here. So this little piece, and I don't have nightmares about it or anything else, but this was the piece that they handed me 30 some odd years ago and said, go out there and conduct the band. And to do it much better than it probably went that day, would you please welcome the Associate Conductor of the ARP Texas Concert Band, Mr. Mike Olson, to conduct this brief.